So what's happening there, boys and girls? Do you know what? I thought what would be super useful for you, I thought what would be quite interesting for you is if I could get someone on this video who has been through my program, who has hugely benefited from the program. So Angela has literally just graduated from the program. She's just finishing her 3 months with me. So Angela, why don't you tell us a little tiny bit about yourself?
You betcha. I'm actually 58 years old, young, I should say, and a grandmother of 3 wonderful little grandsons and 1 more on the way. I'm not sure if it's going to be a boy or a girl. I'm someone who has been quite active all my life, up until about the last 12 years. And I ended up being, more sedentary, going from working with 4 or 5 horses a day to, because I was raising sport horses. I had a woodworking business, so I was always very physically active. And when I started to be in front of a computer kind of all day and driving down the road with my new career, I didn't change my eating habits, obviously, looking back, became more sedentary and actually got into a real slump. And over the past 12 years, probably gained between 25 and 30 pounds. Absolutely was so unhappy with how I felt about my body. It was not who I was. And so over the last probably, 5 or 6 years for sure, I've been struggling and trying to figure out how to lose weight.
Cool. Okay, great. So why don't you tell us the things what were you kind of struggling with the most before you reached out and we had our consultation?
Well, I'll tell you, I thought I was a pretty intelligent person, and I had done tons of what I call research and studying and try to figure it out. And what happened was I would try a diet, end up not getting very good results quick enough, and then would lose kind of the faith that it could happen. And so I would kind of go off of it. Some of these diets would be restricting me from eating the things that I love, like pizza or having a glass of wine at night, or, being able to, eat alongside my husband. So they didn't last very darn long. And then I found a product called HCG through a friend, and she had great results, and I did a ton of research to make sure I wasn't going to harm myself, and started on that program. But at the end of the day, when I look back now, having a better education, having worked with you, I understand why it didn't work in the long term. At the end of the day, if you cut down your calories, you're going to lose weight. But the problem is that what didn't change and wasn't affected was my mindset and my understanding of food and the calories in, calories out, or energy in, energy out. And so although I had these quick fix weight loss moments, they would never last.
Cool.
So it was getting pretty discouraging.
Yeah.
Not being able to go back to normal eating and maintain that weight. And I'll be real honest with you, when I reached out to you, I honestly was feeling pretty hopeless. I had been introduced to intermittent fasting, which I think is good, for periods of time in your life. It, kind of makes sense to clean everything out and give your body a break or whatever. And I had some success with that as well. And I'm kind of an all or nothing person, Danny. So it was easy because it was like, okay, how do you do this? You don't eat, just drink water. Okay, I can do that. And I actually did it, and it was pretty cool, actually, the results from that. But again, at the end of the day, I had to return back into living and, living with my family and eating and doing normal things, and nothing ever stuck. I continually going down.
That's generally the issue with a lot of people. The majority of people, they can lose weight absolutely fine. The issue that we have is then living at that new weight. So people generally spend a fortune on various pills, potions, creams, have a miserable couple of weeks, even if they kind of last. But then when they get down to their target weight, they've got absolutely no clue how to kind of to live at that weight, and then they go back to their old habits,
Yep.
and they just the weight goes back on, and what happens is they don't associate the weight regain with the fact that they've gone back to their old life. They associate it with the fact that they've lost weight too quickly, and then it's gone back on. So you mentioned that you've tried the HCG diet. What else have you tried? What other?
I actually hired a personal trainer, and she was kind of a friend of mine as well.
Yeah.
And she was a fitness competitor, so she figure competitor, very, very beautiful and in wonderful shape. So she, was motivating that way. But at the end of the day, eating a little thing of broccoli and chicken and rice, and having just that, and the snacks, and having this sort of meal plan, regimented meal plan. I couldn't go anywhere without trying to figure out how to get this all prepared. I mean, honestly, I tried and I lost a little bit of weight, but I was just like miserable. Yeah. Because I couldn't live like this. I was like, wow, like there's no way that I can do this every day, eating out of a Tupperware. Yeah. And I would watch, people carry these little Tupperwares to different events and things. And I was just like, wow, that's not living. That's just awful. So I didn't last very long on that. And, over the years, there was this sort of adage that you had to eat like often, grazing all day long.
Often to boost the metabolism.
Yeah, to boost the metabolism. And the reason I was getting fat is because my metabolism was slowing down. I was getting older, or I wasn't eating enough, or I was eating too. It was just so frigging confusing. And honestly, when the keto thing came out, of course, I tried that in conjunction with the intermittent fasting. Yeah. And I mean, I even did a 5-day block fast where I had nothing to eat or drink, or I just had water. And it was pretty cool, but it's not something, of course, you can live by. Yeah. But on the keto thing, like the high fat thing, well, wow, I was like, cool, because I love avocados. I love coconut oil. I love, fatty meats and things like that. So that really was appealing. But at the end of the day, again, I could not stick with that exact ratio and no carbs or very low carbs and actually live my life. There would always be something that would come in the way of it, whether it be one of my grandkids' birthday party or me preparing a meal for the family for an occasion. And at the end of the day, I would keep beating myself up every time I would take a little extra something that I kind of knew I shouldn't have. The back of my mind, I was like, oh my God, I can't even fricking stay on it for a day, whatever it was I decided I needed to do. And I was just like, I told myself at one point, like, I'm going to quit. Enough is enough. Maybe I'm just meant to be like this, maybe this is just the way it's going to be. And hopefully I won't gain any more than I already have. Started to settle into the size of my clothes, started to, just kind of, okay, fine. Because I knew that if I did another frickin' diet or another plan and failed, I mean, I would just feel like who the heck am I? What am I doing?
So you began began to accept your situation, didn't you? And that, like we've spoke before, accepting your current situation is the worst thing that you can do, because if you are not happy in the way that you look and the way that you feel and the way that you're performing, and you just accept that this is the way I am, that is a very difficult hole to get out of. I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson said, teach a man the principle, and then let him find out his own method. Now, what the majority of people tend to do is they ignore the principles of weight loss and they just go straight into the method, and they just keep trying 100 different methods, different fads, different diets, call it what you want, but they ignore the principles of weight loss, which is energy balance. And it seems like, even now, when you kind of talk about energy balance, it seems like calories is a dirty word. It seems like it's, I don't want to be obsessive. I don't want to be this, that, and the other. So how long then, overall, how long do you think you've struggled with your kind of body image and stuff?
Well, I think I've struggled since I've been a teenage girl. I mean, I remember when I was young, and of course, looking back now, I was really slim, but I always felt really heavy. And I felt, bigger than any of the other girls. So I think my image has been really in a bad place for quite a long time. And I remember my mom dieting and going on, kind of lettuce diets. And it wasn't a big thing in our family because she always fed us very well. We had actually a pretty good diet growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But there would be these sort of binge moments, where I would just eat like crazy. I'd be sort of obsessed with the thought of, being able to have a hot chocolate full of ice cream or, cereal at night before bed,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I think over time, it just sort of became, kind of in the back of my head. And honestly, like before I connected with you, I used to every day kind of wake up. The first thing I'd think about was food.
Mm.
What am I going to eat? How's this going to go today? I used to smoke about, I don't know how many years ago, probably 30 years ago or so. And I was a really good smoker. I'm an all in or all out person. You wouldn't catch me without, my lighter, my cigarettes. I would have a plan for the day. It was in a time when smoking wasn't so acceptable. And I remember when I finally quit, it took me about 9 times to quit. And I got so sick of quitting that I quit. I needed to have it done with.
Yeah.
But I remember that obsession I had, and that would be my tendency. So when it came to food, as time is going on here, that's kind of the same feeling I had, was this kind of overall obsession with thinking about food. And over the years, I've had times in my life where I haven't thought about it at all. It's when I've been super active, felt super great, was, absolutely just doing what I loved. Everything was cool. Nothing was hard. But then when life started getting kind of in the way and a little slowed down, and I was super confused with what was right and wrong, and why was I gaining this weight, and was it my metabolism that was screwed up, and what did I need to do to fix it? And gosh, I think I even did that 10-day lemonade thing. What was that? The lemonade diet or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I think I've tried everything.
Everything.
Oh, yeah. And it just seemed like nothing stuck, of course, because it was a diet. It was a short-term fix. It was not being educated.
Yeah.
It was not understanding the principles of what the body needed in order to, expend energy, take it in. And I just got super, super confused. So, like I say, just about ready to give up, but hating every moment of how I felt in my clothes, knowing that I'd gone through so many sizes, and I didn't want to throw away the smaller size because just in case, but looking at, where I was and where I went to, it was a little depressing actually, because it wasn't who I was inside. I could feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel that it wasn't who I was meant to be. And I always felt more whole and powerful, as a person, when I felt good, when I was fit. And I was generally a very strong person. Actually, I could arm wrestle most guys and beat them. So, it was something that I was used to because I was so, physically active, and I had good muscle tone and that kind of thing. And, it was not who I was, even though I was kind of succumbing to the idea that that's maybe who I was going to be, because I couldn't seem to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically then, for a very long time, you've been, this is not me being nasty. You were a serial dieter. So you were dieting, you were hating it. You were dieting, you hated it. So why did you decide to reach out to me? And, why did you think that I was different? Why do you think I was the guy that could help you get through this?
Well, when a friend of mine, Lois Gerard, who I don't know if I can say that out loud, but Lois is awesome. She's been a friend of mine for a long, long time in the horse world. and just as a person. I have absolute, respect for her. And I had actually seen her go through some challenges with being fit.
Mm-hmm.
And when she connected me to you, I don't know, it was probably, I don't know if it was a couple of years ago, it's quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was introduced to just who you were. And I didn't, at that time, didn't really tag in or anything like that. But every once in a while, because I had, joined or accepted the friend request or the connection Lois had made with you, I would see a post from you. And you just kept kind of showing up in my feed every once in a while. And every once in a while, I would listen to it. And I'm like, wow, this guy is like, first of all, I love his accent. That's cool. He was pretty straight. You were pretty straight up and kind of strong and confident with what you were offering. And you were kind of specifically working with women. And I knew that was important because I'm pretty sure men and women are different in the way that they handle food and metabolize things. And think maybe, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I was feeling hopeless. And I was like, I've got nothing to lose but weight. And when I was looking at one of your posts, I can't remember which one it was. And it was one where you said, hey, if you want to know more or, whatever, reach out, comment. So I commented and I was very skeptical. I was like, yeah, okay, fine. I'll talk to this guy. We'll see if he even answers me, is kind of my feeling. Cause I'd been duped by different things over the years.
Yeah.
So I reached out and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll, if we could have a consultation, we'll talk about what it is you offer, something like that. So right away, you answer back. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. He's like paying attention here. This is actually meaningful to him, not just putting a post out.
Of course, yeah.
So when you did that, I was, number one, I was impressed by that. So then we got on a Zoom really quick. And I'm like, and I remember that day because I didn't really have time.
Yeah,
and
I think we finished that Zoom with you walking from your office with your, I don't know if it was your phone, and you got in your car, and then and that was it. And that's when we finished that Zoom, and that's when you decided that that was the time to kind of to invest. So as well as if we look at I will put your progress picture below, because the difference in the start and then the finish for you is phenomenal. The amount of body fat that you have lost is ridiculous. You look like a different person.
Yeah.
How do you kind of feel about yourself now? What have you learned about yourself over the past couple of months?
Well, I think I finally have kind of arrived, to tell you the truth, in my mind. I know now what it's about. And I think the biggest thing that's happened is my mindset change, sort of the taking responsibility.
Yes.
And not trying to pass it off to other things. I think as soon as you start thinking something else is going to save you, you're doomed. Because that's something.
No one's coming to save you.
No. So I think that's the biggest thing, is it's me. If it's going to be, it's up to me. The old saying. And so that's one thing that has definitely changed in the way that I think. Now I'm so mindful in a good way, not obsessed the way I used to be, but mindful and thoughtful about my eating during the day and my patterns. And I went from being someone who didn't even think about not eating. I would have food with me everywhere, whether it be good food. And I used to think that, well, if I eat healthy food, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, but I would overeat healthy food to the point where I would gain weight. And then I would go, well, what the heck? I thought I could eat all this stuff. So now I have an understanding of what really makes a difference. And that is, number one, planning. So in the day, if I know that I'm going to be going to my grandson's birthday and I am going to have a little piece of birthday cake and I'm going to have whatever pizza they have or whatever, I'm going to stick it in my, my Facebook, my Fitness Pal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to figure out what I can actually have and what I need not to have during the day before that, so that at the end of the day, my energy intake is going to be in a place where I can live with myself and be okay.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things, Danny, that I've appreciated about you is that you have not come down and said, hey, you can't have that. And I remember when I first started, you gave me such an open kind of book. I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. What do I have? What do I don't have? You just said, just make sure you have 140 grams of protein. I'm like, okay, well, I'll start there. And I started working out protein amounts during the day. Started falling in love with my shake again that I used to, kind of think was useless. Well, now I love it because it's just pure protein, no fat, no carbs. So it's perfect. And it was incredible, the sort of transformation as I started to kind of get educated about how many carbs and fats are in protein, different protein sources. And if I knew I wanted just to add like veggies and fruits that were good and low carb, low fat, I started to educate myself kind of naturally because I was using by the way, I have never been accountable to anybody, not even to myself, to be honest. And I've never been committed to anything. I've never counted calories. I would do that for like 3-4 days sometimes. Or when I was on HCG, it was supposed to be 500 calories. Well, of course you're going to lose weight if you're on 500 calories. You're also freaking unhealthy at the end of the day and never going to be able to maintain it, right?
No.
So when you started to give me that protocol of just watch your protein, just make sure you get enough protein, I'm telling you, I realized right then and there, after that first week probably, that I hadn't ever been eating enough protein. I felt so much better just having that protein in my body. And the energy that I had as a result was incredible compared to where I was before. So that was a big eye-opener for me, is this protein idea. Because people had, kind of scared me about protein, careful you don't have too much protein, make sure you have enough fats. Well, we know that fats has way more calories in it than protein. Yeah. Protein is the building block of cells. Here I am getting older, my protein likelihood of having my body, the muscles in my body being kind of eaten up. Yeah. As I get older, I can't remember, there's a name I think for it, and I would see older people.
Sarcopenia.
Yeah. And I knew that my muscles and the way that my fitness was just being depleted. I started to look like an old person, and that was not who I was. So as soon as my protein intake started to get up, it was incredible, the changes in my energy and the way I felt, the muscle tone, everything like that. And so it was really interesting how I went from being someone who was not committed, not accountable, never counted calories, to just saying, okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to do what you say I'm going to do. And I was in the back of my head kind of like, and it's not going to work, just like it never has, kind of. And I don't know, I think you gave me a guarantee or something. I don't know if you did or not, but I was like, what? I'll just do it. What have I got to lose? And I was kind of my last ditch deal. But I also said to myself, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it because I want to prove that whatever you're doing either works or doesn't work. But it was so cool because you didn't say, don't have a glass of wine. No. I just naturally said, well, let's see, does it fit in my day? Yeah. With my calories? And if I'm going to have that glass of wine, where does it fit? And then I discovered it's not so bad having a quarter of a cup of wine with my husband. No. Even a half if I planned on it, and then I would start to arrange my day so that I could actually live, do the things I wanted to do, and yet still lose fat. Oh, and the other thing that was so huge was this weight scale thing. Like, you were asking me to weigh myself every day. And I was like kind of freaking out a little bit because that was my big deal.
I'm not doing that.
Oh, do I have to? Like, are you sure? Because I would always, because of my past experience with like HCG, where there'd be like, I'd lose like a pound, half a pound a day. I'd be like, yahoo! So weighing myself under normal circumstances, I wouldn't be doing that. And I'd be like, oh, I'm a failure. It's not working. I haven't lost anything. I've gained and I did everything right yesterday. And man, it took me a little while working with you to get that figured out because I kept connecting fat loss with weight. And I had no idea that the two do not correspond. That, like you say, when you have carbs in your body, it holds water
Yeah.
or whatever. There's water weight around it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So as time went on, and I was kind of going up and down, but slowly going down, up and down, up and down. I just started to get a little less worried about this darn scale weight. And I started to release that so that it was just a matter of fact. I would jump on the scale, put it into my FitnessPal, put it into your program manager thing so I could do my check-in. And then again, when you did your check-ins, I was so like, he's not like keying in on the weight. He looks at it, he goes average over the week instead of per day. And I went, okay, like he's really knowing that the weight on that scale is not the end all deal.
Yeah, those
Even
numbers don't really matter. As long as, like you said, as long as your goal is weight loss. So as long as they're trending down, if they go like this, it doesn't matter. And then what happens is, like you've said there, you start to disassociate yourself with the number. And as long as it's trending down, it's fine. And then that every now and then it's going to go up. And then you can go, oh, okay, I had a few more carbs than usual yesterday. Oh, maybe I had a high fiber meal, so I've still got a bit of red.
Yeah.
Resume my stomach. Log it and crack on. So it's been a pleasure watching your own personal self-development and your awareness, and your self-confidence has gone through the roof as well. Your energy levels have increased. Everything. It's just been a joy to kind of watch. So what would you say then to anyone? There's probably going to be a lot of people watching this who are worried about the investment, who are sat on the fence. What would you kind of say to anyone who's sat on the fence right now?
Well, when I think about how important it is what you're looking at doing to your whole life, I'd say don't even hesitate, but know that if you're going to take that step right off and over to the other side. Do it. Because if you fully engage in it, you won't get the result just like you did with all the other freaking diets that happen in your life. So be ready for it, and know that if you follow the protocols that Danny puts out, if you start to get educated, if you actually believe and want to change your mindset so you can live a full life and change the lifestyle around food so that you're not ever having to deal with it again. See, that was my thing, is I wanted this to be a forever deal.
Yeah, done.
One for all deal. Like you said, when I first met you, you said, I don't want to have to be your coach for the rest of your life. After 90 days.
3 months is all I like to work with people for, 3 months.
Yeah. And I mean, that's incredible in itself. So if you take 3 months out of your whole life, or 3 months out of what you believe you're going to live for the rest of till you pass away, that 3 months is a blip compared to the unhealthiness. For me, it was just the hopelessness, the not feeling like myself, not having the energy that I knew I wanted to play with my grandkids, live an old, rich, high quality life. 3 months is a blip out of your whole life. So then the next thing, it's about committing just day by day by day by day. It's not about looking at 3 months down the road. It's about just taking each day in stride and knowing that you don't have to beat yourself up if you don't get it, or if you don't understand why you do something or don't do something. That's where Danny comes in to help you understand those things and educate you, so you don't have to second guess this stuff. You don't have to second guess whether or not something makes sense in your meal plan or not. If you want to have, like, here's what happened for me. So I love to have like rice or something with my meal, has super high carbs. So if I'm going to lose fat and it has high calories, it's going to kind of mess up my day. So I found cauliflower rice, almost no carbs, absolutely delicious.
Low calorie alternatives are out there.
Alternatives. I kept substituting foods. Like, I can't say enough about sort of the education I got tracking my foods on my FitnessPal deal that I never knew about before. And although I'm not perfect, it doesn't matter. I don't beat myself because I'm not perfect. I know that I am losing fat and I'm doing it the right way so that at the end of the day, it's going to be a lifelong thing, that I'm not going to go back and forth. Like I amaze myself sometimes with the choices that I make in the midst of making a before would have been made a bad choice, hands down. Anyway, you want to know what people should do. I think they need to just step up and own their own life and know they can and not hesitate, because every time you hesitate, when you don't do something that you know in the back of your head you should, you're just prolonging the agony of where you've been.
Yeah.
And maybe you've got a ton of weight, maybe for me, I only had like 15, 20 pounds to lose. Right now, it's almost like I don't care. I just know I have a lifetime of understanding that I'm going to continue to go down, down, down to the point where I'm where I want to be. And it's not about getting it done quick. It's about getting it done for real forever. So it's about stepping up and doing what you know you want to do anyway. 3 months is nothing. Day by day, you just get smarter and wiser and more educated, and you understand the whole process. So yeah, I highly encourage someone to work with you.
Cool. So basically it's about taking ownership of your own situation. It's about maybe not kind of playing the victim anymore. And it's about accepting the fact that the only person who's going to save you is you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can keep, telling yourself the stories. I can't help it, but my husband is having the chips at night. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? If you want the chips at night, figure out what you need to do during the day to have the chips at night. And then pretty soon you'll start. Well, it's true. It's exactly what happens. Like, it's incredible to me, to be honest. I just had no idea that this would be the outcome. I'm almost getting emotional.
Don't cry, because I'll start crying, and I've got too much. Right then, Angela. Listen, I'm gonna let you go because I've taken far too much of your time. Stop, and I don't want you to start crying on camera. So thank you very much. You've been a really, 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 really big help, and hopefully you've helped other people make the same decision too. Do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you, Danny. And anybody who wants to get her done for real, just tag in with Danny. He'll help you get her done.
Cool.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Angela.
Okay.